Does your car look like this? Bogged in the middle of a stranded beach. Here we are. No one to be seen for miles. Let's get into this week's video.
Saw your silhouette in the backlight. Swear we could have met in a past life. Treating every night like the last time. So I end all my days with you. Yeah, we should share a backseat in a taxi to get home. No need for either of us at this point to sleep alone. 'Cause I don't like.
Hey, welcome back to today's episode. So the whole purpose of today's video is to basically show you what to do in this exact situation. As you can see, the car is pretty bogged. This is up to my shoulders, the roof of the car is, and normally my head's about here somewhere. So it is stuck well down onto the axles, onto the belly, and fully stuck underneath. Back to a previous episode I did a couple weeks, about a month or so ago. The thumbnail was 4 PSI. Now it comes back to that episode. If you watch that episode, it was basically the key takeaway from that video is drop your tyres straight down to 10 PSI. So in this exact situation, that's exactly what I would recommend doing. And this is where to use it. This is a pretty soft beach. This one here is. It's in southwest WA. Like all the other beaches around this area of Australia are pretty soft. And then the second thing I'd recommend is to dig out all the sand that you can reach to. I have got a bit of a helper today, so I have got a shovel with me. I have got Max Tracks, but the whole aim of this video is to show you what you can do with nothing. Absolutely zero tools whatsoever. So drop the tyres down. If you don't have a gauge, just keep dropping them down. Put something on the valve. I'm not exactly sure how long to hold them down for in terms of time as to what pressure. It's always going to vary from tyre to tyre and the size of the tyre. But make them so you think they are definitely really soft. If you're kicking your tyre and there's heaps of wobble, that's probably about on par with 10 PSI, I'd say. But this is still at 16 PSI, this is, in the front and the rear. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with digging out all the sand and then behind the front and rear of all tyres. And then we'll get you a bit of an idea of how stuck we are underneath as well. Hey guys, thanks for watching it this far into this week's episode. Please scan the QR code at the bottom of your screen now to subscribe to our channel. We really would appreciate it. Thanks, and we'll get back to this week's episode. So I just wanted to show you exactly how stuck we are and how far down we actually are, just in case you think this is all just a bit of a setup. Now this is set up in terms of I did try to get this bogged on purpose for this video. However, I can't go any further forwards, even if I engage both of the lockers as well. Just to really try and give you a bit of an idea. We'll spin you around. And this is the rear diff sitting on the ground with the fuel tank as well. That whole leaf spring is under the sand. That whole tail shaft and uni, the diff lock there, that's all under the sand. And if we come up the front, as you can see out the front here, that front diff is still off the ground, but the radius arm on the other side is under the sand along with the tyre. So it has actually dug opposing wheels in this situation. All situations are always going to be different from each other. If you have got opposing wheels, you've kind of got a bit of a head start because you've already got 2 wheels with traction already. And as you can see under the front here, that's it there. So technically I've got traction onto that tyre there, but it's not going to spin because the front diff is open at the moment. Now if it was locked, that wheel there would still spin because there's too much drag on everything else in the rest of the car. So we're going to start out with freeing up the tyres, front and rear, like in front of and behind each tyre. and then clear out the sides, and they're going to drop the tyre pressure down to 10 psi. So that's my number one go-to trick. In this situation, I can almost guarantee you that still won't work. I'm going to have to dig out the diffs as well, but we'll get into that bit next after that. So really, you want to try and dig out as much as you physically can, but at the start, I'm just digging out what I can get to, just so I can drop the tyre pressures down, make sure the valves are all clear, and there's no sand going to get into my valves and clog them up. That's just a bit of a trick there. For any young players that haven't done this before, make sure you don't get any sand in your valves. And then basically, if you were stuck like this and none of the diffs were stuck on the ground, all you'd be basically trying to do is just dig and make a bit of a ramp from about 1/3 of the length of the wheelbase to the tyre, and same with on here to here as well. Create like a bit of a ramp, and then you do the same behind and the same in front. And that's another trick for in another episode for basically how to prevent yourself from getting bogged in this situation. But this video is purposely built just to show you how easy. To be honest, I could just dig this out by hand, but I'm not going to, because that's going to be way too much effort for a video. Anyway, we'll keep digging. I've gone around and dug out the tyres on the sides and front and rear of all the tyres. Now at this point is a very tempting situation for me to get in the car, put it in gear and try and see if it'll drive out. Now I can basically guarantee that the hard effort work that I've done for the last 20-25 minutes is basically going to go south, because all I'm going to be doing, because the car is stuck on the diffs and the chassis and the leaf springs, the tyres are just going to spin. So in a situation where you think you might have a go at getting it out, you're probably better off not. Now the reasoning for that is there is weight on all the tyres, but there's not enough weight to propel the car forward. So what it's going to do, by the tyre sitting on the ground, it's going to grab the ground, or the sand in this situation, it's going to pull the sand out from underneath and spit it out the back, which is actually going to put us further back than where we are in this situation now, which would mean we'll have to dig out further from in front and behind and on the side of the tyres. So in this situation where I am right now, I'm better off stopping, assessing the situation and trying to work out what is the next best approach. Now, there's really a couple of key pointers, and those key pointers are clearing of your tyres, what tyre pressure you're in, and what gearing you're using as well. Now on beach situation, in something like this, so it's fairly soft, you should always be using low range. Doesn't matter if you've got an automatic or a manual. And for all those haters that'll probably comment down below saying, I've got an auto and it always gets me out of trouble, blah, blah, blah. The rest of it, it's not bad. It's not great for your driveline and your gearbox and your torque converter. It's the same situation if you're on a manual. If you're using the clutch to basically get you going. If you're on an auto, you're using your torque converter to get you going, which is basically going to heat up and you will eventually wreck your torque converter. Doesn't happen as often as people blowing clutches, but it does happen. So in this situation, low range, tyre pressures, and the wheels cleared. That's basically the 3 biggest takeaways that you can take from this video. So from here, I'm going to drop the tyres now straight to 10 psi. They're currently sitting at 16 psi, and I'm still confident that it won't get me out, and I'm not going to try, because all I'm going to do is basically guarantee myself a situation where I'm going to have to be digging further in this situation. So now I'll go ahead, I'll grab out the Max Trax Indeflate, and I'll let the tyre pressure down to 10 psi. So as the tyre pressure dropped down to 10 psi on the front, I'm going to do the same on the rear now. So this is the exact situation. So now I've let all the tyres down to 10 psi. Now I can guarantee you, you can basically drive on any beach in the whole of Australia at 10 psi. Bornholm is probably the only exception. You can get down there at 10 psi on 90% of the time, but I've seen some days where you can't at 10 psi. But you're basically guaranteed 10 psi down there. Anyway, so this is the exact situation that basically a lot of people would give up in this spot. So you get in the car and give it a shot, because all the tyres are all clear. Everything looks to be all clear from the outside to the naked eye if you're just observing. Now this is where it is a very easy spot to give up, and that's because everything underneath is still hung up. i.e. if you look around the back here, you can see the tow bar is still on the ground, the leaf springs are still on the ground, the diff is still on the ground, the fuel tank still on the ground, the tail shaft, the radius arm on the passenger side still on the ground. So there's a lot of weight still being held onto the ground that isn't on the tyres, and you want to try and distribute all of that weight onto the tyres, because that's going to be your biggest help to getting out of here. So anyway, the next step is to not give up, because in this situation I can guarantee you 90% of people will hop in the car and wonder why they can't get out, because technically they've got the tyres down, everything's clear, everything looks to be all sweet, and this is when they give up, after they've tried to give it a drive and it goes nowhere, and if anything, it makes the situation worse than what it is. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead, clean out under the diff, under the leaf springs, under the rear tow bar, under the front diff, under the radius arms, and all under the tail shafts there. Anyway, so I'll go ahead, dig all that out. Dug out all the tyres are all clear, underneath the chassis is also clear, all the diff, the leaf springs, the tow bar, everything's all clear as you've seen. Now all I'm going to do is put it into first gear low range. Now if you are in an automatic, make sure you put it into auto, and if you can select your gear, put it into first gear as well. And if you can select your gear, put it into first gear in low range as well. Now in low range, all your ABS and everything is all disconnected in the background, which you'll notice all your lights will come flashing up on your screen. And in this situation, if you've got Max Trax, which we do, but we are not using for the purpose of this video, make sure you try and put every piece of traction aid to work that you can to try and not make your situation worse, and to basically get yourself out easier. So if you've got diff lockers in your car as well, make sure you engage them. And most modern cars are electronic, so don't go full gas from go, because basically your lockers will not be engaged and you'll wreck your lockers as well. That's in a whole nother episode. I done a how to use locker episode on the beach about a year ago, and I'll link that one down below as well for you. Anyway, so I'm in first gear low, both the lockers are engaged, and I'm going to slowly take my foot off the accelerator. Now you'll notice that I'll start to move. So we stop there, and in that situation, how I've moved a little bit further forwards, I'm now going to put it in reverse and go back, and then stop again. See, all I'm doing right now, I'm compacting the sand of where I've driven. You can do this a couple of times if needed. If you're not as bogged as what I am, you'll be able to actually go on the first go without even trying to do exactly what I've did. So because I've dug down quite a long way, I've got to do this basically. See, there we go, and then we'll go forwards. Right, and we'll go back one more. And I'm basically out now. There we go, all free. As you can see then, we got out of the bog. I did have to rock the car backwards and forwards a few times there as well, which is pretty common when stuck on a beach. If you catch it in the early stages, you can get away with just doing that, as long as the car isn't already stuck on the ground. Just give your car a good rock backwards and forwards. Chuck it in first, go as far as you can without revving it, just on idle. If you're in an auto, you'll need to give it just a few little revs. No more than 1,000 RPM would be absolutely heaps. Just until you start to feel your tyres start spinning again, and then go back and do the same. And all you're doing is compacting the sand and creating a longer footprint for you to get a run up on. Anyway, I'll spin you around and show you the mess that we made. So as you can see through here, I don't know if you'll be able to see that on camera. Yeah, so we made a bit of a mess. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, guys, if you're enjoying this content. And this video goes out to people like Dean, who's also subscribed. He commented on one of my previous episodes about all the subscribers that I have at the moment, and I really do appreciate all of you guys for subscribing. Yeah, we'll see where 2025 brings us. This episode is actually recorded between Christmas and New Year's. Yeah, so obviously it'll be a couple of weeks later by the time you guys actually manage to get to see this video. So I do appreciate every single one of you guys for subscribing and commenting on the video. So if you've got any questions, do comment below. Any suggestions, anything you want to know, yeah, comment below, let me know, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Anyway, see you guys.